Alright, for those of you who have been around, you're probably really confused when I make a video that's not Lost Ark. And they generally just don't do good. But here we are, I installed Vindictus. In a time where everybody's Warcraft hype, I went back into a different game. A friend of mine reinstalled the game, and while I was doing my Lost Ark stuff, he kept on just bombarding me with stuff about the game, like things have changed, things that are cool, things that I just have fun with, and it just tempted me to go back. Now, if you look at the Steam charts for this game, and when I do, I'm always surprised it's still even there. But the number isn't truly representative, I want to say, because this game did run off a Nexon launcher, and I do believe a lot of the hardcore players still play on that. Talking about population will be relevant later on, I promise. So quick history, this game came out in 2010. I played this back then. I played this back in beta. And I played the majority of season 1, a little bit of season 2, and not much season 3. And just to give an idea, we're on season 4 right now. And pretty much every time I quit the game is just because of how heavy the monetization was and how required it basically was to progress. This game is a whaling paradise, or at least it was. Is it now? We'll find out, or at least make an educated guess. So this video is going to talk about me and how I've experienced these changes in the game. There's going to be a little bit talking about how the game works still, but this is going to be the experience of somebody returning to the game as opposed to somebody who just started the game for the first time ever and everything's brand new. So it may not look like it, but this game is old. Like I said, it's 2010. Visually, the characters and everything, it still stands up today to being pretty impressive, still on par with a lot of the current gen games, or at least the MMOs that a lot of people play that have been around for a little bit less. So Vindictus is an action MMO. I believe when it was first teased and trailer to release, they actually called it like a brutal action MMO. And to be honest, brutal was a really good word to describe season 1. How I see and how a lot of people who played season 1 probably feel about it is going to be like how the bald man feels about World of Warcraft Classic. There was never really a dull moment. Every fight, every level, everything was a struggle and a fight for your life, and it felt great. So Vindictus is basically a Souls game. There's a few things that make me say that. One, you have a stamina gauge, so everything you do costs stamina, and you had to monitor that. Now, you do have to monitor it more back in the day than you do currently, it seems. But like a Souls game, this is a game where getting hit is, well, not advised. To get to this game without aggressively dropping your credit card onto it, you're going to need to learn how to really use iframes on your dodges or use a guard or parry mechanic really well. In season 1, pretty much every boss would chunk 1/3 of your health off per hit. I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but later on in season 3, that feeling definitely comes back. The quick thing about how the game flows. You have a hub town, it's very small, it's very simple. You got your shops, you got your NPCs, you got a quest here. Like any game, there's questing. So yellow ones are your side quests, and pretty much any other color is some certain season, usually, I think, of a different kind of main quest. Then if you go to one of the 2 populated channels, you might actually see people. All your missions, all your combat is instant based. So you go to this board, or now actually, you can just hit G, and you can see the board from there. You can find and pick your mission on the board, or if you're playing solo and you have a quest picked up, a story quest, you can just hit that big orange button on the bottom and it'll load right up into your next quest. Very handy. Never used to be able to pull that up in G, and never used to have that main story button. That was a thing they added somewhere down the line, I think in season 3. Most normal missions are 4-player, raids are going to be 8 players. I do believe they used to have 16 ones, but I don't think so anymore. So yeah, in town, get quests, go to board, do mission, go back town, rinse and repeat. But the missions, the actual gameplay itself, it still feels as good as I remember it. This is an action game. This is a game where you're always constantly running around, moving, swinging, always doing something, but also still watching that stamina. So you have your normal attack and you have a smash attack. That's your left click and right click respectively. You know, think of a lot of action games. Think of pretty much any action game where if you do enough light attacks, then you do a heavy attack, you get a different combo route, that kind of stuff. Those attacks will also fill up your SP gauge, which allows you to do active skills. There's actually also a grab button, but you basically never use that besides building a campfire. Once upon a time, you used to break back. A lot of characters have some sort of gimmick tied to their tab key. Spacebar is to dodge. Now, if you do have a parry or a defensive gimmick, generally you do that through just hitting spacebar without any direction. And once upon a time, this spacebar, it used to give us the jump. Never forget. Oh god, almost 5 minutes and I haven't even gotten to my progression. Let's get moving. We still gotta talk about my characters, so let's look at my roster real quick. This is a current look at my characters right now. Basically, just ignore those bottom 4. Those are characters I made post coming back. As you can see, I played and I enjoyed a lot of characters. And of course, to see what the experience is like for a newer player getting into the game, I went with a new character. Let's look at the character select screen. So there is a lot of characters here. Now, looking at this list, it looks like I've missed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters. So a lot of the earlier characters have 2 different weapons, 2 different play styles. Every character always launched with a single weapon, and then they added one down the line. But somewhere along that, they realized that, hey, we're not making enough money when people just have a different weapon play style. They need to buy all these cosmetics for a new character. And now every character just has a single weapon. I wanted to play Denna, I wanted to play Tessa, even Sharon looks good, Latia looks good. and also Herc picking up that T looked fun. Ultimately, I decided on Latia, but you also might see some Herc sprinkled through this video because I did play him too. Now, the first thing you do is you go into this tutorial mission, and luckily it's skippable, so just like every other time I've encountered that, I hit escape and I skip it. Everything's pretty normal, pretty standard. You get a quest in the town, and then you start the mission. Well, it turns out they added more tutorial missions. They added a few at the start here to teach you a little bit more things, which is not bad. Can't skip them, but you don't really slow down or anything like that because it doesn't stop you. Overall, not bad. I think between all the tutorials, a new player would have a pretty good understanding of what to do. And then from here, there's some other big changes that they made in the game that I really do enjoy. So when you clear a lot of missions, a lot of story missions, there's going to be this option to just go to next story. So you'll load out of the mission, you'll do all the dialogue and stuff that you would do between them, but you just don't have to walk around town and do that. And then you load right into the next story. This is going to be one of many big changes that I'm going to talk about that they did to kind of progress, fast track, accelerate your progression. Which on that earlier topic of dialogue, I want to say that this is a dialogue heavy game. This is a very story heavy game, which surprisingly I don't hate. I don't hate the story. I thought it was pretty good back in the day. I'm a little out of touch right now. My memory is a little bit hazy, but it was a pretty good and kind of fucked up story if I recall right. I am generally a story unenjoyer. Like I played through a lot of Final Fantasy 14 back in the day. I don't know a damn thing about that story, and people say they love the story of that game. I slept. But back on topic. So yeah, they removed a lot of running around town, a lot of that time, stuff like that. So you can kind of just burn through missions a lot faster. But on top of that, you don't even do as many missions as you used to, but you still gain levels faster than before. So let's talk about this play guide in the bottom right of your screen. You open that bad boy up. So take a look at the bottom because it's a little bit less important. These are just kind of things that you want to do on the side, things that will give you pretty decent rewards out of it. But these are things that are not as imminent. The growth ones, the top three are the big ones. First one is just level. You get to levels and then you get a lot of free stuff. They don't expect you to actually gear through a lot of this gold content. They just give you free sets of gear. That seems to last until level 105. And then the interesting part is the second one. Now, this one is story progression ones. Now, you get raw experience for going through it because it's giving you experience to supplement those missions you're not doing. But additionally, it will also give you out a story skip scroll, which allows you to go through like 4 or 5 different missions without actually doing them. You just get the dialogue, you get the experience, and you move on. So the first area, the ruins, I remember doing like 10, probably even more missions. Now you do like 4 and then you're just gone. Third one actually isn't as important, so we won't really talk about that right now. Back onto my progression, my return to Vindictus journey. The game now starts off as surprisingly easy, really brain dead content. Now, this is nothing like the game as it launched in season 1. Like I mentioned before, every fight was a struggle. Everything took a long time to do. Bosses that took me like 10 minutes to kill back then take me like 30 seconds. Also removed mobs and rooms and floors from a lot of these missions to make it go faster. So the missions itself are really quick. Like the average mission in these early game area is going to take you probably like 2 to 3 minutes. You know, back in the season 1 days, back in my day, if you grabbed an enemy, that was generally going to be more damage than you swinging at them. In big bosses, you would actually grab parts of the environment and hit them with it to stagger them. So when I got to the point where you got to go fight the giant, that's when I was kind of curious. Now, I'm pretty sure this actually wasn't new to me, but my memory is so bad from the last 2 times I went back to the game, I don't remember. But anyways, the giant was really one of the first raids you encountered in season 1. It was an 8-man raid that took usually on average for like a normal group, like 10 to 20 minutes, if I remember right. He did big dick damage, and then also you had to have 2 people on ballistas and 2 people bringing both those ballistas so they could shoot him. When both those ballistas hit him around the same time, it would stagger him for a DPS window. It was a great, long, epic fight. It felt really fun and rewarding, and now you just solo him with the greatest of ease. And then going through this is a common thing that you're going to see through season 1 and season 2. You take once endgame raid bosses and turn it into solo content for the sake of catch-up sounds, you know, a little bit familiar, which I do think is something that they had to do for this game. Like in my time playing this game, I've maybe seen 2 other people under the level cap in this. That's it. Starting in season 3, bosses are going to give you a little bit of pushback. They're going to kind of lower you down health, maybe not kill you, but in the latter half of season 3, like level 95 or so plus, it starts to feel more like the Vindictus I knew. The Vindictus where things would chunk you for like 1/3 of your health on hit, and you'd have to use your iframes, you'd have to use your dodge, your parries, and all this kind of stuff to survive. Now, season 3 is still all soloable. It's just going to be a little rougher. So at the end of season 3, I got to the point where I was actually dying in raids again. And I didn't take all my free revives and cash potions that I got throughout the years of old events and stuff like that and funneled it to this character. Instead, what I did is to get through these fights, I did what probably most of you players would have to do. So each fight has a practice mode. They have unlimited potions and unlimited revives. You do not get any drops, but you can learn the fight this way. Especially in season 3, how a lot of these fights go is they have a lot of high damage attacks, but they generally have one major gimmick that if you mess it up, you're probably just going to die. So going in solo clueless is a bit rough. And as I stated before, since this is not a very alive game, you can't just really open up a party and hope people are going to join you and make your experience easier. That just doesn't exist. Player base is either dancing in town doing questionable things or they're running endgame. I am at the very start of season 4. Now the game tells me I should be in a party for this. I tried the first mission, I did it as a duo, and it was a deathful mess. I don't know if it's because the game is designed to be a party of 4 for this kind of stuff, but yeah, I can definitely say season 4 feels like the old Vindictus. It definitely does totally ramp up to where the game was designed as initially. So with that being said, let's talk about the power systems in this game. So since you get free gear sets up to 105, it is until 110 that a normal player has to deal with this part of the game. So from the looks of it, season 4 runs similar to season 3. You run the missions, you get a pattern to make something. You also have different items that you need to do the craft, and all these items and the pattern have different rarities and different stats on them. There's going to be farming and there's going to be RNG. Then comes a big one, the enhancement system. Now from Lost Ark players, that's honing. Now sometime in the last like 5 years that I haven't played this game, they actually changed how it works. Talk about how it used to work. Same kind of thing. You drop items into it and you enhance it and it has a chance to go up. However, it was a style back in the time that when you failed things, your item could explode. Once you got to +8, everything after that, you could lose your item forever. In the later seasons, they made it so you had one extra chance, but now they have changed it completely. For what I'm told now, how it works is when you fail, you have to use AP, which is another currency we'll talk about in the power system here, but you use that currency to fix it. Once you use that AP to fix it, you can try again, and you can repeat this process over and over. You no longer lose your equipment for failing. You do, however, lose max durability. Additionally, on top of that, all your gear can use enchants. They have a suffix and a prefix you can put on them. RNG drops, RNG application rate, but it was the same thing. It used to explode your gear, but now it doesn't, or at least so I'm told. Then there are 2 other major power systems in this game. So if you hit V, you pull up your skills. You learn skills with gold, but then you level them up through AP. AP you get for clearing missions, and you need a lot of it. It'll make your skills stronger and also unlock different parts of the skill. Some of it, which is training, which is stat bonuses. So from what I've seen so far, AP still seems to be a pretty excessive and long grind. Then in season 3, they added skill awakening. When you do content, you get waking stone drops. Be things like damage up, increased break off, cooldown, and stuff like that. Kind of like using a tripod, you use them in a material, hopefully attach that bonus onto your skills. You need a lot of these other materials to do it. You need ergs, so you need to have to either buy them or gamble at a really low rate. My new character, solo self-founded, I only have 1 of these attached. On top of it, they have a durability where you have to use other waking stones to refresh that durability. It's another endless farm kind of thing. That's really it. Those are the power systems. There's not much, but there's still very needy systems, and they are going to take time to catch up and get to where a normal player is. Now, something I didn't find out until I was editing is this game does have pity systems. So for enhancing, it doesn't look like you actually can fail until +11. 15 is the cap again, and as you can see here on this chart, it's going to be rough to do a 1-tap. But at max, it'll be anywhere from 4 to 12 taps depending on what enhance you're going for. When my friend did fail on his enhance, he also got a stat boost for it, so I don't know if that's extra on top or if it's just giving you partial of what you would have got for the enhance. Next is enchanting. I've seen these scraps on the market that if you use 4 of them and combine them together, you get a 100% chance. From my understanding, when you do fail, you get a scrap, so that means 4 fails and you probably would get 100% scroll on pretty much any enchant. I don't know for sure, but those are 2 things I really wanted to mention since I found those out late, and they're just pretty game changing. Because yeah, this did not exist for like 8 years of this game's life at least. Now we got the big one to talk about, monetization. In my opinion, this is what hemorrhaged the player base every time. Me and my friends, this felt like something that was essential if you wanted to progress. That was 3 to 10 years ago. Let's look at the cash shop now. So first off, it's 1,000 NX for $1 US. Everything in the shop is priced just under any of those thresholds, so you always have some money left to incentivize you to not waste that money and go buy something else. Pretty common practice. When I say dollars, I'm going to be rounding up just for the sake of recording and not thinking about cents. Because if you're ever going to buy any one of these, you're going to be spending X amount of dollars. Potentially more since you can only buy it in increments of $5. Let's talk about the things that are always on the timer. First, we got VIP. This is your fake monthly sub. This affects a single character. You get an additional raid every day. The 1 additional raid, you get a chance for more loot, and you get an EXP and an AP boost, along with a stat increase. That's $8 for 30 days. You step up to VVIP, this affects all your characters on your account. So it has all the same perks, but a chance to receive additional loot is for certain, and also you get additional pots and revives gifted to you every day to use for that day, and I do think they do replenish over time for the day. For 30 days, that's going to be 15 bucks. Next off, we have the cadet badge. You can only buy this for 30 days. This is a slot of gear that I don't think has any alternative. You only buy this or you don't have anything at all. It increases your defense, but also gives you luck for higher chances of drops. This is going to cost you $5 for a month. There's actually a worse version called the novice badge. If you feel like you need more bag space, that's going to cost you $11 per sword chest. Or maybe you want a little AP. Well, 1,000 AP is going to cost you $4. Continue with other things that will help your progression. We have the enchant rune. You can use these up to plus 11 on your gear, and what happens is when you fail, it just consumes the rune and you don't get any other negative. Item doesn't break, you don't have to repair it, you can just go on. It does consume on fail, so this is going to cost you $4 per fail. Also a premium armor one that goes up to plus 12, that's going to cost you $12, and this does not apply to weapons. Same rules apply. If you fail, it's gone. So now an enchant rune is going to cost you $6 per fail. Remind you, you're going to need 2 enchants on pretty much every item that you have. Now, since items don't break forever while you're enhancing and all that stuff, you might be tempted to not use these things and just grind it out. Then you question if you need the enchant runes and all that kind of stuff. But when you fail, your durability does go down. But of course, there are durability increase pots that are going to cost you $1 per 20 of durability, but like 66 cents. Next, we have pets. Those are going to cost you anywhere from $8 to $20. The lower end ones give you minor buffs, while the higher end ones are going to give you better buffs, and also they're going to be able to do things like break ores. Let's move on to cosmetics now. Fashion is endgame. Everybody loves booba. This is why people play the game, it seems like these days anyways. So for a permanent inner, you know, your lingerie, that's going to cost you $9. If you ever want to change your body proportions or makeup or anything and go extra thick, you're going to cost you $10. Hairstyle, $5. But there's a dye system in this game, so if you want to buy them out the market, you can. Otherwise, it's going to be $2 per attempt. I say attempt because it's a 1 in 6 chance you're actually going to get the color you desire when you use one of these dye things. Say you want to glam, transmog, or put an old appearance on something that you currently have. For an armor, that's going to cost you $3. For a weapon, that's going to cost you $13. Now we get to talk about a piece of cosmetic that's going to affect your stats. That is your outfit. These definitely do affect your stats. Now, the ones you get from the outfitter are going to cost you $20, but they're not going to give you balance, which is the stat you're looking for on outfits. You need all the balance you can get in this game, and there's no way to compensate it outside of this. You need a cash set that is this pink color. And the only way people get these is through gacha. There's currently one up right now. It's called the Ash Crystal. It's going to cost you 2 per roll. As you can see, a lot of these outfits are not tradable either, so you would have to roll it yourself if you want some of these outfits. And even worse is you can see the drop rate on these is 0.05 to get what you want. If you're dead set on a certain outfit, it can cost you as little as $2, or it could cost you like $2,000. Now, if you only care about the stats, there are going to be cheaper, less revealing ones that people put on the market because they got them when they're trying to get their slutty one. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you have to buy all this stuff. Like I said, you could be patient and not need to use all these enchantments and enhancement runes. Those things, cosmetics, you don't need. They don't affect your stats. But if you want to look good, if you want to be a little, revealing, you can go with that. On this fresh character, I haven't been down bad for needing storage spaces, so I don't even think that's mandatory or necessary. But it definitely does help things keep things very organized that way. I think the really important things would probably be just having a VIP or a VVIP status open. Now, I have been told that this has turned into an alt heavy game, so a VVIP does seem more appealing. However, there's now an AAP shop with some lesser things that people really don't care about, but the big thing there is going to be you can buy 2 days of VIP on that character. Now, luckily, I came back to this game during an event. I don't know how common events are these days, but let me tell you, this is better than any event I've ever experienced in all of season 1, season 2, and whatever I played in season 3. If we look at it, it is a login event. It's like 3 months worth, so I'm not going to go over every item. At a quick skim, I can see storage chests. I can see like 10 AP capsules, about like 21 days of VIP, a lot of fusion runes. I even see inner and hair. And also at the end of the day, you do, at the final one, you do get an outfit. And it is pink, so you should get the balanced one that you want. At the absolute minimum, not including the outfit, I'm saying you're probably getting at least $50 worth of stuff in here. Minimum. This login event is juice. It's stacked. I wish other games like Lost Ark would have something this effective, this huge. Depending on how often these events happen, if you're patient, that means you could get your character a lot of cosmetics and a lot of things like this without spending anything. The thing is, I know this section started off super negative, talking about how much you're going to spend on this game, but I'm ending this talking about how much they've changed, making the systems easier to approach for free-to-play player or someone who doesn't want to spend that as much, to absolutely fucking jacked events. It give you so much free shit for just logging in for an hour a day. Yes, it is an hour. I do wish it was just a log in and log out kind of thing, but you do have to dedicate an hour to at least loitering around in town. But it's still great nonetheless, and I really wish they would have gotten this friendly to their players so long ago, because I don't think this game would be in such a bad place player base wise if the game launched, or at least near launch, was like this. This leads me to a point where I'm pretty sure I'm still going to play this game a little bit on the side still, because this is a game that I've played many times before and I quit it over the monetization. So to wrap things up, there's a few things I want to say. This game does have a lot to offer, and I could cover it all in one video. I am by means no expert at current day Vindictus. I'm a scrub. So if I've gotten anything wrong or made any mistakes, I'm sorry. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I was told that going through season 4 and gearing up through it is going to take anywhere from 2 to 3 months, probably more for me, since this is a side game to Lost Ark. That's why I decided to make this video now as opposed to later. I think this is still an extremely fun game, and I do honestly think that with all these changes they have to progression, along with the value you get out of these events, that this game has become a lot more approachable to play. I do think a free-to-play player can catch up without feeling that bad. This game does have 3 different difficulty levels, so like 1 to 95 is pretty easy. The rest of season 3 hurts a little bit, and in season 4 is just you will die until you learn these fights.
You're gonna learn. It's the real world. You learn it early, son.
But if the game looks good and looks fun to you, I really do think you should give it a shot. Vindictus is still in the top 3 of combat systems that I've enjoyed in all of MMOs. Up there on top of it would be Lost Ark and also Phantasy Star Online 2 base, not New Genesis. In those times that I quit this game in the past, I went to games like BDO and Terra thinking maybe they would kind of satiate that, but they didn't. At the start of the video, I mentioned WoW and the Bald Man. Vindictus is kind of in the same way where they invalidated so much of the game for the sake of people progressing going through it, where I think it'd be really cool to have people experience a season 1. And lastly, for those of you who stayed to the end here, I want to give you an example why the KR Vindictus community was the best tier list makers of all time. Who needs things like letters when you have these genuine works of art? I'm so glad I could find these tier lists again because they made me laugh so much back in the day and they still make me chuckle a little bit. But anyways, it's a fun game I enjoy still to this day. Depending on how long this journey continues, I may make another video about it, but I really just wanted to experience this game for what it is again and just make a little video about it. Well, I wish it was little, but this is my longest video to date. It's too long. That's it. I'm calling it. I'm done. After this, we're going back to our normal schedule, lower content, I swear.